Welcome back to the Lanterne Rouge Cycling Podcast for the Vuelta España Stage 12. We're getting through the race. We're over halfway through the race from Orense Termal, which is maybe a thermal site, I don't know, to Estación de Montaña de Manzanera. This is a breakaway sort of stage. It's been a breakaway stage in the past. David Moncutia, I think, won from a breakaway before. You do need to be a really good climber to win. It's 3,000 meters of elevation gain in only 138 Ks, including really difficult hills in the first 76 kilometers. It's mostly just hilly terrain where the break might form. And then the final climb, 16 Ks, 4.7% with on a big highway, but the last 2 Ks are 7%, which is, you know, it's pretty difficult, especially after climbing for so long. It is a bit irregular. So you do got to be able to climb, but it's one that maybe the 68, 70 kilo climbers also, they have a really good chance on as well. What did you think pre-stage, Benji, about... I was pretty sure it would be a breakaway, but I also thought it's not a bad finish for Roglic either. He could win. This is the sort of finish he could win on no problem.
Yeah, if he had a super strong team, I'd say they control the stage when Roglic goes for the sprint and they get bonus seconds, etc. But in the last week and a half, we've come to the conclusion that his team's been limited to the point that they had to choose between either doing the lead out on the climb or controlling the stage to begin with. So I don't necessarily... I felt like today was going to be the day where the breakaway would win as a consequence of those evolutions and how we see Bora Hansgrohe in this last week and a half. So yeah, I just expect them to focus on trying to lead out, to make the difference versus O'Connor, more than trying to get the actual bonus seconds in the end. Try and get the actual 30 seconds here on that stage, 30 seconds there on that stage. And this stage, you weren't going to get 30 seconds on O'Connor on a stage like this. So I don't mind them not controlling, and that's exactly what they kind of did, because the breakaway was up the road. We've got a breakaway the following 10 riders: Marc Soler, Narvaez Rodriguez for Ineos, that is. We've got Van Zevenand for Quickstep, Verona for Little Trek, Schmidt for Jayco in his Swiss national jersey. Swiss national jerseys, my second favorite national jersey after the green and gold. Then we've got Mankies for Intermarché, Max Poole for die Firmenich, Tejada for Astana, and Pablo Castrillo for Equipo Kern Pharma. And it became pretty obvious pretty quickly that the breakaway would win, because the gap went to like 8 minutes, but we didn't see break formation. Were you surprised to not see a GC rider in there today?
Oh, we saw most of break formation. They televised. I saw...
Yeah.
So this breakaway really had to fight for it. That was the original line up the road. They were up the road for a long time. Yeah. And basically, Israel were desperate to get in. Wout van Aert was desperate to get in. Alpecin de Koenig. They wanted... This is a great finish for Quinten Hermans from the breakaway. They all wanted to be in. They got very close in a group 2, didn't cooperate. Then Israel did a huge lead out on a rolling climb, maybe the 700-meter Luintra or before there.
I think it was.
And they basically fully closed it. This breakaway got fully closed. Soler re-attacked, then everyone in the breakaway re-attacked, and Johnny Narvaez was the only person from the peloton to get across, and Woods missed it. So Woods misses another breakaway. Israel will be spewing, I think.
Yeah. And it's not the first time, eh? We've had Bennett, Riccitello, and so forth yesterday, but before that, there have been very limited riders from Israel in the breakaway, especially because they came here with a team that was so driven by breakaways in the first place. So it's quite disappointing to not see them in more breakaways for the stage win, because even yesterday they weren't going for the stage from the breakaway, they were going for GC. So I don't know, I feel like I'm missing something there when it comes to Israel in this race. But looking at the break, my first thoughts are the following. Okay, there's no real pure ruler in there, so it's not like Oliveira needs to anticipate the final climb and attack with 30 kilometers to go to get an advantage there. Riders like Castrillo, Tejada, Poole, Mankies, every single rider in this breakaway might genuinely believe that they could win from the breakaway on the climb itself. It's possible that they think that. But Ineos does have the numbers. And if I then look at Ineos, I'm thinking, okay, if you have the numbers, even if you have 2 riders that could potentially do well from the group itself on the climb, the ideal strategy, in my opinion, is to go up the road either before the climb or on the early gradients of the climb to be that offensive team, because you've got two riders. You can send someone up the road, and the other rider of yours can sit in the wheel while everybody else tries to close your other rider. So that's a strategy I was hoping to see by Ineos.
And I don't know if they know which one to go for. I think they're going for Narvaez. He's the quickest sprinter, but when you look at Oscar Rodriguez, he's on 30 minutes, which is not that much for a reason, in that he's not actually lost that much in the mountain stages. Like, he's climbing pretty well. He was like dropped with 20 guys to go from the GC group when it kicked off yesterday. So I think they were like, oh, we'll keep it together with Rodriguez, maybe have a sprint, but it's such a big group and controlling them's hard. I don't know. I think Max Poole, if you look at Laguna Stanea, you look at his size, you look at how strong he was yesterday, Max Poole on this sort of climb is really, really strong. But he's isolated. Castrillo's a big engine. He also was 7th on Laguna Stanaya and Burgos, and multiple good GC results, great time trials. So it's going to be difficult for Oscar Rodriguez to control those, which lends me to think, Benji, that what you're saying, get ahead of it before someone else does, is probably the way to go.
It's like the Vuelta last year. The Vuelta last year, similar situation, a group with two Ineos riders, Gary and Thomas Ganna, and they basically make, I think Ganna was controlling the group for Thomas when Ganna should have been the one attacking at the start of the climb anyway. So it happened before, and Ineos hasn't even learned from that situation to begin with, which is disappointing because they didn't do that. And on today's climb, it looked like Oscar Rodriguez was trying to control or marking people in favor of Narvaez, and I would have liked to see a better strategy.
Breakaway Bora was a little bit confusing to me. At one point, I thought they were trying to make the break with Martinez. At one point, I thought they were trying to stop the break going at all and have it be 4 guys so they could control for the stage a few times. Like, they were following wheels, stopping people jumping, and then then the break went, and then it got 10 minutes. So I was kind of
maybe they just had like a process of, okay, we'll try and we'll see once the break forms whether it's a group we can manage or not. That's maybe a possibility. If it's a group with Martinez, okay, no issue, it can go. That's the only possible reasoning I can see behind that.
Maybe. Oh, maybe they're just making sure there's not another O'Connor situation. But they didn't try it today. I did think it was, and it is a pretty good finish for Roglic normally. But actually, Roglic... Yeah, anyway, the breakaway's going to fight for the win. They get to the base of the climb. No one's really moved. I think Narvaez had got a little gap before, but then they get to the base of this 15K climb. Soler goes. So straight away, it's not going to be... They've got 8 minutes, so they can play around this whole climb. They don't got to be worried about the Peloton at all, where they got to work together. They got, oodles of time. Soler goes. Verona goes again, and this is like 4%, where it's really, really... These 68, 70 kilo... hybrid climbers like Verona, for someone like Oscar Rodriguez, it's just not realistic that he's going to control all of them. So Narvaez was closing them, but yeah, Benji, it's only a matter of time before someone strong actually gets a gap, and then Group 2 syndrome will take over.
Yeah, no, I was kind of surprised that the first attacker on the climb was Soler, because usually he'd go for the strategy of, oh, my leg hurts, oh, my back's in pain, oh, I'm dying, and then he attacks, and I feel like today he might have gone with a slightly different strategy where he attacks first at 14K to go. Narvaez is the one closing that. Verona eventually comes from behind, counters on the other side. It's Soler closing it. So Soler is very active on the first 2 kilometers of this climb. We're on the non-steep gradients, the shallow gradients of this climb right now. And I feel like Verona gets caught by Soler and then goes again. And that was the first move that stuck for a little bit. 15 seconds. And that is when we saw the sign of Ineos really pulling the card of Narvaez, because I felt like Oscar Rodriguez was riding quite a bit behind Verona to try and get that close. Then that does catch Verona. And when Verona is caught, there's another flyer. And who is it? A man from Equipo Kenfarma?
It is Pablo Castrillo, who's been very, very strong. We've, sung the praises of Equipo Kenfarma this Vuelta with Berrade, with Castrillo, with... they got really, really good riders, and they're all actually up there competitive. Paul Mikel Parra, Ibel Ruiz has been in breakaways, so they've been performing super well. And Castrillo, again, like, he's about 70, 72 kilos, he's about 6 foot. He's a really good time trial rider who also climbs well, and he gets into that mode on 4%, 5%, where he just begins to do a TT. Everyone looks at Oscar Rodriguez. Oscar Rodriguez is cooked. He's holding it at 30 seconds and he's like losing a second every 2 minutes or so. And it's like, I'm like, Castrillo looked cooked in break formation. He looked cooked on the climb, but he wasn't going any slower. So that's just how he looked, I guess. And
it's his style, maybe?
Must just be his style, yeah, committing all in. Schmidt gets in the middle. Chas Batats, he stalls, which goes to show how strong Castrillo was, because Schmidt was only about 8-10 seconds behind at one point, whereas Rodriguez with Narvaez was 30 seconds. Then Narvaez attacks with a pull in the wheel. They cooperate a bit. And then Soler comes across. They catch Schmidt. Schmidt refuses to pull. They just don't work together at all. And they stuff around with Castrillo still going strong. They get to the last 2Ks. And I'm like, you guys got to cooperate. You can still catch him. It's 2K, 7%. It's really hard and he's been cooked. They still mess around. They're attacking each other. This was the classic Route 2 syndrome. And Castrillo takes a huge W. The biggest win of his career, the first win of his career. And the biggest win, I don't know Equipo Confarma so well, but
for sure.
This is the biggest win in their history by far. They've never won I'm just trying to make sure I'm correct. They've never even won a Dot Pro race before.
That is true. So this is a major win for Equipo Confarma. And Pablo Castrillo, we've sung his praises already in this race. That combination of a climber, TT rider. So I'm looking forward to what he'll do next year. His contract is out of contract. He's out of contract is a sentence I'm trying to form. And we've heard some rumors about Ineos getting him. So that would be intriguing to see him in World Tour. So I'm looking forward to see what he can develop there. But also the whole Confarma team. I remember there was a Confarma development team, maybe in the 2016s or something. And there's actually a bit of a story going around right now because the original founder of the Equipo Confarma development team, Manolo Ascona, actually passed away today. So it also triggered Soler to want to win the stage because Soler was part of that Confarma development team early on and came forward from that to where he is now, to Movistar, to UAE, etc. So he also wanted to win today to in memory of said person, and in Castrillo obviously as well, because he's part of that team, he's part of that structure. And to be honest, Equipo Confarma, like, for some reason, after 2020, 2021, I remember the Galvan era. Francisco Galvan was a bit of a sprinter in there. Then Adria came from Confarma towards where he is now, Bora, for example. They've brought forward quite a bit of talent already. So it's like, why do we not think about Confarma as a development team as much as some of the other teams we sometimes hype, like Hagens, Berman's Axion, for example, because quite a few riders in Equipo Confarma history have gone to World Tour.
Yeah, it's kind of like Bardiani, because they're a pro team. We don't think of them as a Devo team, but they're kind of used as such for Italian riders. Pellizzari is the latest example. So I guess because it's not their core thing, and also they are one of the newer pro teams. They were really just a Devo team before 2020, I think, or 2021. But yeah, it's that rumor of him to Ineos, Castrillo, I worry for Ineos.
Okay.
That they haven't signed him, and that they were interested in him, and they were thinking they'd get him, and they have a Rodriguez, not the same scale Rodriguez situation, or like Foss situation, or whatever, Quintana. So if he's not signed, he just added maybe a few 100,000 to his contract, that's for sure. Because Movistar would want to have someone like this in their team, I would assume, or even UAE.
After Burgos, it should have been clear that he should have been signed. In my opinion.
I mean, if I'm probably, this guy makes, I would say, 80% of World Tour teams better, and it's probably the top 15 rider on 50% of them. More, I'm maybe even underrating him. So
is he family of that dude that was on Movistar, Jaime Castrillo, like 3, 4, 5 years ago? Does Luke know that?
He's Pablo Castrillo, the family member of. He's his brother.
Oh, okay. Ooh, that came from far.
Well, Jaime Castrillo's PCS profile picture is crazy. That haircut is wild. So it's a huge win for him. It's a huge win for the team. You could see all the staff very emotional and crying at the finish. And I'm really happy Equipo Con Farmer won because they deserved it. They've been active in every breakaway just about. They've had really strong riders. They've developed them well and they deserve to win. So I'm really, really glad they did win. It was a brave move. Max Poole comes second. He was the strongest, I would say, on the climb, at least from the chase group. So he's only finishes 8 seconds behind, though. 8 seconds. So if he had a Chris Hamilton in the move with him, I think Poole wins. Soler third on 16 seconds, and Schmidt. Narvaez finishes on 34 seconds. So I dare say Ineos will be ruining. They were the only team with 2 in the group and the fastest finishers, so they'd probably be a bit.
But
wondering where it went wrong.
I'm not wondering. Like, we look at today's stage, and we can look at the mountain stages that are coming up, and some of them are like 180 kilometers, whatever. If Bora has concluded from the first week and a half that they want to keep their team for the actual lead out for Roglic instead of controlling the race, how many more breakaway stages are we going to have? Because, like, Max Poole is definitely going to win one then, right?
Yeah, I mean, Max Poole, if you look at stage 14, like, that looks like a very good finish for him. 23 Ks at 4.5%, with a descent finish and a flat finish.
Is that?
Exactly. So, like, that's just a nailed-on breakaway stage, right? And you got to be a sort of powerful climber on those gradients. It's a long climb too, which he's good at. Maybe a 50-minute effort, 40-minute effort, 35-minute effort. So,
so weird. I'm
but
sorry,
back
but
in the
that
GC
stage
group,
is so weird.
It is. It's like, I don't know how to describe that stage, honestly. Back in the GC group, we didn't see any lead out for actually Roglic. In fact, he was deep in the group. No one brought him up. He had to bring himself up. Lipovic was ahead with Mas on the wheel. Vlasov was nearly getting dropped, actually. And it was just a bit strange. No one did anything, which for O'Connor's fine. Another day down, another no seconds lost. That's a win for him. So GC top 10 is unchanged today for the first time in quite a while. O'Connor still with a 3:16 gap on Roglic, 3:58 on Mas, 4:10 on Carapaz. EF once again kind of just paced really hard for no reason. That's their MO at the moment for Carapaz. And they did it on stage 9, perhaps. No, 10.
10.
And then didn't do anything. So we can expect more of it. But yeah, tomorrow, anything else from this stage, Benji, or no?
Not really. Did we talk about the yellow cards of the Decathlon there?
Oh,
because yesterday, basically during the break formation, the Decathlon there was doing the ritual thing where the team that's trying to control blocks the road. Technically, that's against the rule, but it's not often actually sanctioned. We've seen, I think, Sagan and Israel Premier Tech in the past getting fined as a consequence of said actions, but it's usually because there's something extra happening. It's usually because they're either hindering other riders doing so, or they're trying to bully people into not attacking, that kind of stuff. And we did see that yesterday from Lafay, and also seemingly Carapaz ending up crashing as a consequence of a decathlon rider blocking the road is what I perceived on screen. So in the end, at the end of the day, I think 4 riders, including Lafay, Bouchard, and 2 other riders, got yellow cards. And the DS as well. If you don't know, yellow card system is being tested from the 1st of August to the end of the season. 2 yellow cards in the same stage race or one-day race results in a disqualification and 7 days of suspension. 3 yellow cards in 1 month period is a 14-day suspension and a disqualification. And 6 in a year is 30-day suspension and a disqualification from the race they're currently in. My opinion, there's multiple things here. First of all, I'm perfectly fine with blocking the road being fined more. There we go. That's fine for me, because I don't like that behavior, and it sometimes turns into a bit of a breakaway mafia where people are being bullied into not attacking in the first place. And we've seen that looking down behavior on pro teams that do try to get in breakaways, etc. I don't like that behavior personally. Now, I do think that there's a bit of an exaggeration in the way the UCI is now throwing around yellow cards left and right. Because a yellow card halfway towards a 7-day suspension and a disqualification, to me, is a pretty serious thing. Like, you can't just hand that out for the little things. You can't use that as a warning of, oh, don't throw your bottle to the side of the road, that kind of stuff. Don't. And I feel like right now, it's being used a bit much. I'm okay with, for example, 2 decathlon riders that specifically hindered riders yesterday or bullied other riders into not attacking, getting yellow card. But for 4 yellow cards to happen plus a DS, that's a bit much for me. I think those other riders could have had a fine instead.
Yeah, I think so. There was the Lefay move was really nasty where he's making contact with Bennett. Fair enough, bit dangerous, yellow card.
Yep.
The Carapaz move, what happened with him? The irony is, Benji, I think Carapaz was coming up to block himself. Carapaz was not jumping in the breakaway. Rafferty had jumped ahead of him, and Carapaz was trying to fill the spot next to maybe VPP to block himself. So, but he crashed. The trees obscured exactly what happened. AG2R, I think Berthet just said Carapaz fell of his own accord. I'm actually of that mind that Carapaz just locked his bars up, but also the decathlon guy was swinging everywhere. So yeah, the yellow cards, once they actually like counting for suspensions, I don't think they're going to hand them out so liberally.
Yeah, but that's the problem, eh? Because right now we are supposed to judge them as if riders are actually getting the suspension. Because right now in this test period, riders are not going to get the disqualification and suspend. They're just testing out the yellow card system, which it should be judged now as if the suspensions and DSQs are being given out. Otherwise, you won't get the right feedback. Otherwise, the UCI will be like, okay, well, nobody's complaining, so we might as well give them out like crazy next year as well. And then people will realize next year when they're actually being applied with disqualifications and suspensions that UCI overdid in the testing period.
There's no way someone's going to get 2 yellow cards for just riding at the front of the peloton slowly and get kicked out of a Grand Tour.
Imagine. But
that's just, yeah.
I did hear from a rider that the UCI counted, went through all the fines and so forth from last year and assigned yellow cards according to the 2023 season. And apparently, according to that test before they applied this in the testing period, only 2 riders would have had an actual penalty be applied to them in the first place. But I believe, the way I perceive it right now, that the UCI commissaires are handing out more yellow cards than the way that was tested on the 2023 season, is how I perceive it.
Yeah, I'll be interested to see if they do hand out second ones next year, because it's a big thing to be booting someone out of a race and to go home.
Yep.
So we'll see.
Also,
tomorrow...
final thing. I'm sorry for keeping you here, Patrick. I'm sorry. The Guarichi thing in Tour de France Femme. A comparison for a second. Guarichi does a lead out for Ribas, stops her lead out, is moving backwards in a straight line, whatever, goes on the microphone to motivate Ribas. Because she takes her hands off the handlebar, one hand on the handlebar, she gets a yellow card. Okay, that's one thing. If you then look at the Tour de France where Capio stops his lead out, looks around when he's done with his lead out, he also completely stops pedaling, which you shouldn't do as a lead out after you lead out, because then the delta, the difference in speed between you and other sprinters around you is so significant that it's more likely to cause a crash. Because he's looking around, he's actually deviating from his line backwards. A crash occurs, and Capio is seen as the victim, so won't get a yellow card for that. While in that situation, I do think a yellow card would fit way more than in Guarichi's case.
Yeah,
so consistency
definitely
is a problem.
But they viewed that crash in a completely different light to how I saw it in the first place.
Yeah.
Like, Van Gils, I thought was protecting himself, and he was the one that ended up getting fined, which was kind of crazy to me when Capio is the one that did absolutely everything wrong and not what you're supposed to do to create the dangerous situation. But yeah, I mean, Renewy Tour again. We've got another sprint tomorrow. I'm sure there'll be some crazy stuff going on there. And we'll see. Tomorrow's stage in the Vuelta from Lugo to Puerto de Ancares. Ancares is very, very difficult climb. It's 176k, so quite a long stage, or moderately long, I would say. It has 3,700 meters of climbing. There is less rolling terrain, though, in terms of like, they have 3 proper climbs in the beginning, or hills, like 5% for 3Ks, 6% for 5Ks, 7.7% for 5.1, 7.7Ks for 5.1%, but actual valleys in between. Then a couple of warm-up hills. Then 7Ks at 6%, the Puerto de Lumeras, again, which is quite regular. Like none of those, there's no kilometer over really 7% in the first part of the parkour that I can see. And then they do the Ancares, which is completely different, which is, again, I would say a fake news climb. It's 2Ks of false flat, and then I don't know if they turn onto a narrower road, 5 kilometers at 12%. So a 20-minute, really, really, really steep test. There's a kilometer at 14% within a mile of the finish. So that's really, really hard. There's a bonus gate on the climb before. Don't know how that will influence things, but this is longer than the stage 4 climb where Roglic was so good. And this is a big opportunity to take more than a minute back on O'Connor if he's in flying form.
This is the hardest climb in the race. Yeah, I think when it comes to the finish, and the biggest test so far. So I agree. This is terrain where differences are going to be made. Is it me, or is this a bit of a, this is a weird comparison, a BTEC Angliru? BTEC.
I would say that's Cutu Negru. Because Cutu Negru is the hill, is the mountain over from Angliru. It's in the same region.
Fair.
So it's like the alternative
on the other side
this year.
Of the mountain.
Yeah.
But when we look at this climb, you said it, the gradients are there, whatever. It depends on what Bora sees, eh? If Bora sees, okay, we can make a difference if we do a full lead out on the climb on O'Connor and take time on the road, then I don't necessarily see why Bora necessarily needs to control the stage itself, which might lead to another opportunity for a breakaway to win again.
I think Movistar got to control this. When's the last time Movistar, when they win a Vuelta stage last?
I actually would be okay with it. Because, like, if you look at the situation, if they control the stage, they're using riders that they're probably not going to use on the climb anyway.
Exactly. Their climbing support is shit. So use Oliveira and Arcas just to lock down the stage. Okay, Mas loses. He still takes 6 bonus seconds based on all evidence we've seen so far.
Yeah.
On other competitors, he needs a few seconds.
And if it backfires, they tried.
I mean, yeah, you have to try to win the Vuelta, and also if Mas is better than Roglic on a 20-minute steep effort, which he was on Hazellanes, now completely different conditions. This is going to be an easier stage. It's not as hot.
Angliru as well in the past has dropped Primoz on Angliru in the past. No,
Movistar have to at least provide the opportunity that if Mas is better than Roglic, whether it's 10% chance or a 50% chance, that he can actually win the stage and take 10 bonus seconds as well.
You could do that by controlling the breakaway, or you could do that by pacing the Puerta de Lumeras harder before the final climb.
I mean, if I'm them, I just make sure a week break goes.
Not as easy though.
Not as easy, but at least they got, well, look at their profile. They got Oliveira, Lascano. Oh, Lascano, is he here?
Yes, he is.
Do I dare say Lascano's got a bit overhyped, Benji?
Hi. Yes.
I thought he's the sort of guy who would win today, no?
In Tour de France form, he's probably in this breakaway fighting for it. He hasn't been in this Tour de France form.
He's had a long season, and he did the Dauphiné, Tour de France, Olympics, Vuelta combo, so I'll cut him some slack, but he's got he, Canal, Arcas, Oliveira, and Sanchez. That's actually good riders to control the start of this stage, and then Poole. So, yeah, Movistar have to, maybe Bora do it, and I'm sure Bora might help you anyway, but Movistar have to do that, I think. And
how much time does a let's say Castrillo, Max Poole, that kind of level of riders, how much time do they need on the peloton at the foot of the Ancares climb, at the foot of the steep section, let's say, be able to make it at the end?
Poole? Or how much he lose on? Let me have a look at old Max Poole.
2.5?
2 minutes, yeah, 2.5 minutes. It's not that much. It's actually pretty small because it's not a 40-minute climb. It's 20 minutes steep. So, yeah, if I'm DSM, I go again tomorrow and try and get Poole to win.
He's my winner for today.
I'm going to pick Enric Mas to win the stage, and also
I like it.
take a bit of time. But Roglic keeps the red jersey. So actually...
He keeps it, the one he doesn't have.
Roglic stays ahead of Mas on GC. Yeah, true.
The O'Connor disrespect. The Quokkas are crying next door.
What do you think happens with Roglic, Bora, and O'Connor tomorrow?
I think Roglic takes time on O'Connor tomorrow.
I think what Mas has to do is what he's been doing. Bora got to lead it out. Roglic will attack earlier than he would have normally.
Yep.
And you wait for him to burst, and then you attack him. And then see what happens if you're Enrique. So I can't wait to watch. But yeah, I think Enrique wins tomorrow, actually. I think he should almost be the favourite. No, that's not. He shouldn't be the favourite. Roglic will be the favourite, but
Mexico's the favourite. Come on.
Yeah. Who else?
From the GC group.
Menchis.
No.
But yeah, it's going to be a really exciting day and impactful for GC. And then stage 14, we have that snoozer. And then stage 15, we got another cracking stage. So elsewhere, we have the Renewy Tour stage 2 TT today. And that was won by Alex Segard, actually. He beats off, he holds off Wellens, who was up there. Sheffield. Ganna didn't start. He withdrew from the race due to fatigue. So that'd be a bit disappointing for Ineos.
Thing is, I've been thinking about the Ganna thing. Like, from a human perspective, if you for 4 years focus on Grand Tours, etc., and then the Olympics happens, which was your goal for the last 4 years, technically, for Ganna, I'm not shocked by the fact that he's out of form after the Olympics. Like, it's not inexplainable for me.
Yeah, he's had a strange season. So he also did Deutschland Tour. Geraint Thomas is here as well. But you would say, like,
really?
Yeah, normally at the Bing Bang Tour with this parkour and Ganna's classic shape of previous years, if he came in good shape, he should win GC pretty comfortably. But
or at least compete with it. Compete for it.
Especially with Sheffield second, Foss fourth, Turner sixth.
Yeah, because the last stage is not super easy either, is what I'm talking about.
Like, we've got the
Gerard's betting stage. So it's not impossible that Ganna falls through the eyes there. So, but I agree that he should be competing for GC in a stage race like this if he's in level. And to be honest, surprise winner Alex Segard. To be honest, like we knew he could time trial. We've seen that before. Second at the Belgian champs, I think, behind Wellens. But then again, a few riders didn't show up there. The bigger names there. We've seen him. The first time we saw him at like the real forefront was the Belgian national champs in 2022 against Remco?
No, that was last year.
Really?
Where he came second to Remco? I think so, yeah.
Oh my God, you're right.
But yeah, he was second multiple times in World Championships U23 ITT, and he won the European Championships ITT twice. So he's a proficient time trialist in the youth categories, and now he's showing that at 21 years old in the World Tour category, winning a World Tour TT, which against Ineos and Sheffield and against Wellens and UAE is no small feat.
I'm just curious where he goes when it comes to the classics, because in the classics, positioning has been an issue for Segard. I think in Roubaix he crashed out at the back of a group. He was dropped on multiple cobble sectors because of positioning and then had to crawl back, etc. So if they can get the positioning right, he might be able to get more out of these classics, and that's why he's mostly fighting for those one classics at the moment, and then maybe in the One Pro next year. And I don't know, I feel like there's more untapped potential there when it comes to the actual classics for Segard, because otherwise he wouldn't be fighting with Remco for that Belgian national champs to begin with. And he's still young, he's still 21, so hey, give him some time and maybe we see more of him in the future in terms of that. But also Magnus Sheffield, for one's not crashing in a time trial. I feel
he
like
nearly crashed. He grabbed too much brake as he was entering the apex of a corner. They got to do something. They got to do something, because it's like I don't know. Because he lost his TT in the corners. Like, I think in the last kilometer he lost like 2 seconds in corners.
And so far in these crashes, he hasn't had a super serious injury. But it's only a matter of time before a crash happens where he breaks a limb or something, whatever.
They broke his kneecap.
Yeah.
In a TT crash.
Yeah. Like, it is possible, and for that, those issues need to be resolved. Whatever is causing it, because we don't want to see Sheffield sidelined for multiple months as a consequence of a crash in a time trial. It's good to see Bissiger back near the top of a time trial, by the way. It's been a false same story. But then again, the level in this time trial has not been the most extreme either. There was a video on Twitter from Van der Poel almost crashing in a corner. Was that during the recon or during the race?
During the race, I think. This had 3 intermediate time checks within 15Ks. Loved it. So it's GC is going to be really, really exciting. I do like the last stage is going to be absolutely crazy.
Yeah.
Like Visma are going to play Laporte and Hagenez aggressively. UAE are going to attack all out with Wellens. Ineos have multiple riders they can use. Segard has to defend, but then do they go for Deli stage wins? So it's going to be really, really interesting to see how the teams play it.
Remember that Mathieu van der Poel solo, was it on this stage in 2021 maybe? Going back in time? No, not 2021. 2020? Yes.
I remember Bahrain, 2021 Bahrain with Colbrelli and Mohoric, where Mohoric was allowed to take the stage win, but Colbrelli chased behind him to make sure he didn't lose too much time for GC. That was on the last
Bahrain
stage of this.
2021
They were special classics performers, weren't they? Yeah, Fred Wright. Yeah, they were 3 of the top 5 in that stage. How times have changed.
Yeah.
Otherwise, there was some transfer announcements today, which I guess we'll hold off. Was there any?
Ooh, yeah.
We'll hold off. Okay.
We'll hold off. We've got a list of riders that we haven't spoken about.
True.
We'll add it to that list.
That's all from us. Hope you enjoyed it. We'll see you with a very decisive uphill finish in the Vuelta tomorrow. Until then, ciao.